Good afternoon, everyone. We're here at the Boca Chamber. We're with Danila Sigal, our special guest of the afternoon. Danila has a very special story to share with us. I met her a couple months ago at one of our events, and she shared her story with me and a couple people in the group. And I just thought it was really important for her to share it with everyone. It's a story of empowerment, of positivism, and how to get through tough times. So without further ado, I want to introduce Danila. And Danila, tell us about your story.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Patricia. It's really a pleasure to be here with the Boca Chamber. Also, we're active members of everything that you do. Well, basically, my story, I can make it as short or long as you want me to. Just to summarize, I am a stage 4 metastatic cancer patient. Here where you see me sitting here today, I was diagnosed with cancer 12 years ago. I had a prognosis of 6 months. That was what the doctors had told me. I just had 6 months to live, imagine. But thank God I'm still here. I've been battling it for 12 years. I've had multiple recurrences. I've had many surgeries. I've gone through radiation, several chemotherapy protocols. Because my particular cancer also creates resistance to a particular protocol, and then I have a recurrence, and then again we need to see, with the doctors what to do. But one of the things that I always try to, because one of the things I like to do is try to help other people that are going through the same thing. Although there are many different hardships that we can go through life, but particularly in my case, I had to go through this illness. Is try to convey that the patient has to take a proactive role in its healing. We do everything that the doctors tell us to do, but we have to do our part.
Yes, and that's what you've done marvelously. She has a lot of things I'll share with you in a little bit, but before we get into that, I want to ask you, how do you feel? It's been 12 years, a lot of things have passed. You're always with a smile on your face. How do you feel, and how do you get through that every single day? How do you put a smile, and you're always so sweet? Do you have tough days? Do you hide them? Do you have tough skin? How does it feel?
Yeah, well, physically, I am affected by the chemo. Definitely, when I have to go through the protocol, I probably don't feel very well the day that I do the treatment, maybe the following day. But I try that my mind takes over, how I feel physically. So I've always been a person, a positive person. I always try to see things in a simple way. I don't like to be, immersed in tragedy or in the moment. For example, when we found out about the diagnosis, it was a shock. Obviously, in that moment, of course, you cry, you are in denial, you don't want to have to do all the things the doctors tell you to do. You are in fear. You have a lot of fear. You have a lot of doubt. You don't want to die in 6 months when I have all these plans and projects and things I want to do. My kids were small. My son was only 1 year old. My daughter was 3. Imagine having to have, face death all of a sudden, this death sentence. It is hard. But what I try to do is I immediately transform it. Now, it's kind of like a mechanism.
That's interesting that you say, because I know you went through a period of denial, and it's very common in everyone who's faced an illness or a shock or a change in their lives that was not expected. They face denial. But the thing that I like about you and that makes you very special is how quickly you overcame that denial. So how long did it take for you to realize, I can't, just get into a shell and say, I can't move on, and this is terrible, and why is this happening to me? But you went out there and you changed your entire. How long did it take, that period?
Well, it didn't take that long because it was an urgency. The doctor said you have to start the treatment immediately. So the sooner the better, so don't take too long in making up your mind. But I remember that one of the things that helped me actually was 2 things. One, my grandmother had just passed away, and there was one night that I had a dream with her where she was like happy and living and just saying, keep on going. So, I kind of woke up because I have had these dreams, especially that first year, dreams with my dad that had already passed away and all, like really realistic things. And I believe that, that God sends us signs in different ways, and I interpreted like that was a sign for me. And the second thing was one of my doctors, I remember, told me these words. He said, in Spanish, of course, but I'll translate it. He said, "Don't let the angel that saved your life have worked in vain."
Yes.
Because he said, look, it was such a miracle the way they found out, because that's something that people don't know, but we found out in a shocking way because it was during a plastic surgery. So it wasn't via mammogram nor any exam nor any self-exam. I was asymptomatic. I had no pain of any, I just went to an aesthetic procedure, and there is where they found out. So they said, look, that is a miracle, and that's what the doctor told me. This is a miracle per se. Because of this, at least we found out about it.
I want to ask you something about that, because it's also very interesting that the way you found out about this disease was not because most cancer patients find out is because they go to the doctor, they get a mammogram, or they go for the checkup and they see that something is wrong. But you found out completely in a different way. Now, before you went for that plastic surgery, were you going on your regular checkups? Were you, I guess what I'm trying to go is, if you could say to someone else, was there a way to have known before?
Unfortunately, in my case, I always hated, look, the ironies of life. I hated to go to the doctor. If I could avoid going, I would just let years go by that I wouldn't go. I would only go because in my job, they forced us to have these yearly checkups that were part of like the company plan. And so I would do these checkups, and never in a checkup anything came out. So no, I guess that's the way the universe had to push me to do this plastic surgery, which anyway, the doctors didn't even want to do, because it was just a little lifting of 1 centimeter that I remember I was like in a dinner or something, and there was this friend of mine from the company, like a co-worker, and she had said, oh, I just did I did, like a little job here. And so in that moment, I hadn't even thought of doing that, but it was her. So that's why I always try to tell patients, listen to the signs, be attentive to the signs life gives you, because then I said, gosh, she looks good. Well, it's true, I had, this age, I already had my 2 kids, why not? And we're Venezuelan, so, everybody knows that Venezuelan women are kind of very aesthetic oriented, and so I took that decision. I went to the doctor, and that's something that it's just also my personality. I'm very action oriented, sometimes even impulsive. So I went, the doctor said, no, but wait until you're 45, why you're doing this. And no, I want to. It was like something suddenly overtook me that I needed to do this. And so he said, but it's just so little, it's just absurd that you do it, please, I want to do it. And then finally he booked the OR, and from a half-an-hour procedure, I woke up many hours later with this surprise. So,
wow.
But yes, going back to your question, if I were to, definitely I would tell, especially nowadays, science and the medical procedures have advanced, there are better diagnostic techniques. So definitely, whatever you can do.
You were getting your mammograms, and you were getting your...
No, I never had a mammogram, never. Because in Venezuela, they wouldn't do a mammogram until you're after 40.
Okay.
And I was 35 back then. So, so there was no reason to have a mammogram. I had never had one. And I had never felt anything.
And you were 35 at the time.
Yeah, 35.
So you were just entering that age where they say recommend.
Yeah, but in that time, it was 40. Now I think they have made it sooner, which I think is good. Important. Yes, definitely. So now also the self-exam, actually part of all my projects and everything is a campaign that's called Tócate in Spanish, but it's like touch yourself, and do your self-exam, which is very important as well.
So it's been 13 years. Where do you get the strength? And I know I asked you kind of before, but you have 2 kids, one 14, one 16, who were babies at the time. They're now grown-ups, or pretty much almost. How do you get, or teenagers, how do you get through every day with them? Because it's not only the battle that you carry inside, but you have other people around you who you have to care for, and who have to see you, and you're their role model, and you're there for them every day. So how was that? And did you tell them anything?
Well, my son was very small when we just had the first diagnostic, so he was only 1 year old, so he really doesn't remember.
They were both very...
They were both small, although my daughter, she was 3 or 3.5, and I do remember that there was a time, when I lost all my hair, I was totally bald, and I didn't know, like, oh my God, she's gonna see me like this, because I never used a wig nor anything, but I did use like scarves and things like that. And at home I would be with a scarf, and I said, well, oh my God, now I have to take this off, because I can't sleep with a scarf 24/7, with this. how should I do? And so I remember I kind of, there was like on the TV, there was like a football game, and there was a bald man playing. And so I remember I said, look, Steffi, look, he doesn't have any hair. And so she was like, well, who cares? Like, why is she telling me this? And so, look, mommy, just cut her hair like him, like showing her. So she was like, at the moment she looked at me kind of surprised, and then she said, oh, looks nice, mommy. But when will it grow back again? Okay. And I was like, oh my God, but at least she took it fine, because that's one of the things I tried to do. Make it all as natural as possible, like no major thing was going on, So I remember also in that time, many people would come to visit, people to visit, and and then they would even like want to pray for me there and everything. And I was saying, but good that she was small, because she was like, why are all these people here or praying and all of that? So she didn't understand. And then through time, I guess they just got used to it. They got used, oh, mommy has to go to the chemo. Then I have a port, because then my arm couldn't resist anymore. Treatment, so I had to have a port, and little by little they started seeing, what do you have there, and
So they started asking questions, and slowly you started giving them
a little bit more.
Now, are they fully aware of it now that they're teens?
Yes,
they know the full story.
They know the full story. They even have read the book, because I wrote a book. I wrote it for them. That was the initial. Let's say inspiration to want to leave them something, because you never know. And so they've been reading that. They sometimes say, well, I don't understand everything, but then they read it again, and then maybe one more thing sticks, and then, but now they're fully aware,
And how was it when do you think there was a moment where they realized the what a miracle and how lucky they are, or how blessed you all are, or was it more like gradually, and they just, it didn't hit them?
Yeah, I think it's been very, very gradual, very little by little. Sometimes they do ask, like, oh, how is it going? What did the test say? But I feel so bad when I see that they're concerned. When they ask, their eyes are like saying, oh my God, what is happening? And so, but again, I say, don't worry, look, I mean, the doctor said that I had 6 months. But look, I'm still here, so let's keep on going, let's go have a pizza, let's do this, I immediately kind of changed the subject, change the topic, because that's another thing that I've used, and I tell other patients, don't talk about the illness, talk to the illness. Talk to the illness, like try to solve the issue, you directly with whatever mechanism you have. But there are people that all like to talk about the illness all the time. And I think it's good for a little while at the beginning, maybe with the shock, the diagnosis, you have your support system, you need to have drained that, have that catharsis. But talking about the illness, at least I don't want to give it more power than what it deserves. I do, okay, I have this, other people have other things,
so you don't even
other
think
people
about
have diabetes or this or that, I happen to have this, and I'm not going to give
you don't
attention.
Think about it, you don't talk about it.
No, not much, unless it's in the context of immediately transforming it into something positive.
Of course, and that's something we're gonna again get into, but before we do, I have one last question about your family, and it's about your husband. And it must be difficult, because with your kids you had to approach it a certain way, but you have your husband, and you can actually open up to him and talk about it with him. So was that helpful? Was that something you looked forward to every day? Because he was the only person that actually knew exactly everything in the severity, besides your other family, but it's the person you see every day.
Right.
And
well, imagine, he was the first person who found out about the diagnosis, because I was asleep in the surgery when the doctors came out. And probably you could just do a whole interview just to him, so he could give you the spouse's perspective, because I think that is fundamental. And in breast cancer, it's even more fundamental, because we go through many, many physical changes. I had like another that has nothing to do with the cancer, just a whole ordeal that lasted like a year with the reconstruction. So imagine, you have one breast, then you don't have two, then you're flat, then you're this. Imagine all those physical transformations, and your husband is there watching this, He must love me very, very much, because it is hard, it's difficult. And so, but if it wasn't because of his support, maybe I wouldn't be, as happy and positive, because I've heard of many stories of spouses leaving or not being able to face that, the physical transformation, and then also the emotional part that goes with it. But he was the first one who found out, and it was a shock. it was a complete shock, and it would be interesting to maybe then listen to his perspective of how he felt. But yes, definitely he has been like my best friend in all of this. He has helped me make the decisions, and but I think in a way my attitude has also helped him not get that depressed or feel bad or feel like this is a tragedy, because once again I try to make it as easygoing as possible.
Because I think that a lot of times when something like this happens, usually the one who's not positive is the person going through it, and the spouse is the one has to be the strong one, kind of being like, you know, you can do this and being positive, while inside they're worried and they're scared, and you know. But you took that role, and that way you helped him, and you
I think it was the other way around.
Yes, and that's again what makes you very special. So I know that besides all of this, you know, you go and you talk to people and you try to raise awareness of it. You wrote a book, which was the little secret I wanted to tell you. I don't have a copy here with me, but I'll share with you the name and where you can purchase it. But it's a story of empowerment, of positivism, and it's a story of how you got through it, right?
Correct.
More or less.
It's my diary, actually.
It's your diary. So what inspired you to write that book?
Well, the book kind of was already there, let's say, because it was my personal diary. It doesn't only center on the illness, although that happened to then be a very important part of my life. But I had already started. I mean, I write since I was a little girl. I have journals. You know, I always was writing journals, impressions, especially because I am the smallest of 4 sisters, and I was born after almost 15 years. So since I was little, I was used to being with adults, and I would be observing everything they do, they talk, and then I would go back home. My sister say, like, you know, oh, this is such a threat for us, because, you know, we're talking, we don't know this little girl, what she's writing, what she's going to write about, you know. So I had a lot of anecdotes and just a lot of material and content that I had already developed through my life in my journal. And then I get this cancer diagnosis, and so that's the moment when I said, you know, they're giving me a 6 months prognosis. God forbid I have to leave. I at least want my kids, because they were small, I want to leave them something so they see, you know, who am I, our family, our family values, the things that typically you need to teach your kids throughout a whole lifetime. I wanted to concentrate it there, so that they could have an easy reference of the things that you want to convey to your kids or that you want to teach them. So, and then, you know, I continued obviously writing the whole episode of the illness.
So how long did it take you to finish or put it together and actually print it? Was it between those first 6 months when you thought that I have to do this fast, or did it take you a little longer? And what was it?
Yeah, it probably took. I think it took about a year. I mean, to actually publish it.
But you got into it right away.
Yeah, I wrote it right away, and that was like an inspiration that I would be writing every day, and every time I would go to the doctor to the chemo, and then I would, because it was like my journal, you know, so I was writing there everything I went through and all of that. Then once I had all this material, then I said, okay, now I'm going. Actually, I remember that it was close to December, and because I was so ill, I couldn't go buy the gifts. And so I decided, with the help of a friend, who, by the way, she also helped do the cover of the book, she helped me go to a publishing company in Venezuela to have it printed and all of that, so that I could give that as a surprise for the Christmas gift to all of my family. So that's how it all happened.
It's beautiful.
Close to Christmas.
And the book's title is
My
Cuatro Estaciones, My 4 Seasons. Tell us a little bit behind the reasoning behind the title.
Well, the reasoning behind the title is because the number 4 has kind of been present in my life. You know, first because, as I told you before, we're 4 sisters. Yes. We're also 4 very good friends. We're also, our family nucleus is us 4. Let's say La Cuádrupla, with my grandmother, my dad, and my mom and myself, we were kind of a group, because my grandmother, she died at 107 years old. So she has like a whole book to be written, you know, of her anecdotes, and she was all a personality. So she was an important member in my family too. Yes. So that's why the book goes through different chapters. The 4, you know, like my parents, their story, then us 4, then the 4 sisters, the 4 friends, and then, you know, how all of this support system, family, friends helped me through, you know, the cancer. So that's how that's how I came up with the title.
Very interesting. It also ties in with the seasons, which is what a lot of people would think that it's has to do something with it, but it has nothing to do.
No, the season. People think that it has to do like with stages of your life
or stages,
but in fact, it has to do that because these people are important, and I believe a lot in those kind of close relationships, in building important relationships in your life. Each season I associate it with the personality. So in each one, like for example, I'm not going to tell you which one I assign to myself, but then, for example, one of my sisters is, either autumn or
spring,
summer, and all of that, according to the personality. Okay. So that's kind of that's just a twist, a creative touch that I did there just to describe, each of the characters.
Very nice. Besides writing a book, she also has a CD. She is the composer of these 14 songs, and she also sings in it. And we're going to show you a preview of her singing in a little bit. But I mean, boy, does she know. She knows how to write. She knows how to compose songs, how to, be on camera. She knows everything. You do it perfectly.
No.
Was this came after the book?
Right. This is a continuation.
In your plans before anything happened, or did you get into it because after you wrote the book you said, you know what, I have another dream, I want to get through that too? Was that kind of the thing?
Well, I had these songs written for a long time. I had different songs, but people who have read the book would tell me, when's part 2? Here we don't know what's happening with you nowadays. Yes. Are you okay? What else happened and all of that. So I'm not gonna do a second part of the book. The second part I will now do with music, because I've loved music all of my life. My dad was a musician, a classic prodigy musician, and so that's something that has been like in my veins all through my life. So I decided just to materialize in a form of music. Be able to convey also positive messages, songs with some positive content. Others I did actually during the cancer process, and of course it's a way for me to heal. I did it first for myself, the same as the book. It was my own catharsis, my own way to express myself, what I was feeling, and then I decided, well, let me share it with the family, with the friends, and then it happened to be a bit more massive than what I had originally expected. The same with the album. The album, I did the songs, I would share them with my family. I did a song for my dad, I did a song for my mom, for my kids, for my husband. I did others just for, for people to wake up, and there's one called Stand Up, actually, And so there's another one called Vive Hoy, which is Live Today. So it's messages that I wanted to convey to other people going through this. But in principle, I just wanted to share with, with the family and the friends. And then, but then I said, well, why not? Let's just make the, and so that's when I called my nephew, because he's the recording artist, he's the professional singer of the family, Johnny Sigal, and so I asked him to collaborate with me in this important project, be the voice, be my voice, because although I do singing in a few of the songs, but I do it just for fun. I really prefer to have more of a backstage role and just be the creator of the feeling and the emotions and everything that are contained in each of the songs. But he has a spectacular voice, and hopefully you can all listen to him someday.
So I asked this to Danila before we started the interview when we were watching her clips, and I said that she does not look a bit nervous. She looks like a professional singer. Are you shy? Do you usually dance? Do you perform in front of people?
No, I'm very shy.
Was that the first time in your life that you were on stage singing?
Yeah, no, I'm very shy. I'm very, very shy. I don't even know how I managed to do this, Even a lot of the interviews, probably it's because I'm only speaking to you.
Yes.
So I don't know who's going to be seeing this or who's, live watching TV or whatever. But for me, it's like I'm having this intimate conversation. And with the songs and everything, I kind of just get myself into, I just have fun with it, So I don't have the pressure as maybe my nephew or people who are truly the professional singers that they actually have to perform, I'm just doing it to create something positive, a positive message for people. But I'm kind of shy. I mean, don't put me to sing in front of an audience or something. I don't think I would dare to do that live, So
if I told you to give us a little singing, you
would
say no. We'll have to have Johnny next,
yes,
and he can give us a little preview.
You could just look at the videos and
we'll
then
look at the video. So do you think you would have written the book and you know, released an album if you wouldn't have been diagnosed, or would you have done it eventually?
Well, I probably would have done it and kept in my drawer.
Okay.
That's probably, I mean, I would have done it anyway because I always wanted to do creative work. Even in the office, because I come from a corporate career, and, you know, but I always like to engage in creative things, and, you know, just writing or creating music or doing videos or photography, for example. I have some ideas in mind, and actually we did a photographic project called Tócate that I mentioned to you before. That was basically pictures.
Yes.
So I like art, although I also have an analytical mind, but I also have that creative vein. But probably if it wasn't because of the cancer, I wouldn't have had maybe the impulse to say, well, you know, there's something here, maybe you can serve others. Because at the end, I think life is all about that. Yes. You know, we're here just to serve other people, try to do something to help one another. If my experience can help others, why not? You know, and I think that's what gave me the courage and the impulse to simply put it out there for others to benefit, if it's useful for them.
There's people who go through life and they're healthy, there's nothing wrong in their lives, but they're not happy. And there's many of those people, and people who don't see the good things in life and who bring down those around them, maybe. What do you think you could do for them? Because you know, you don't only inspire, you know, people who are going through illnesses, who are going through cancer, who are, you know, the spouse or the children, but also I would think just people who have a bad attitude towards life, because that's what's inside you, is a good attitude towards life, and you know how to live it. And you have fun, and you enjoy it, and you treasure every single moment. So do you think this could help those people who are kind of in that mood where, you know, I don't like my job, I don't like what I do, I want to do that, maybe, and they're kind of lost in some way? How do you take them from there to transform them into being, you know, positive and having that attitude and that personality? Well, they can't be you, but, you know, help them.
Well, look, I think everything comes from within. Because maybe a lot of people get depressed, but they get depressed because of the external factors. It's because you think that your life is dependent upon what's going on externally. You know, if you don't like your job, then you're miserable. If you don't have the money, then you're miserable. Then, you know, for that you might be miserable your whole life, because there's always things.
If you didn't get that thing that you wanted,
or you didn't get the promotion, or you didn't get so you cannot base your happiness on external factors, because external factors are always going to happen. But the only thing that is within yourself that you can control is how you react to them. Is your own attitude, and I believe that fully. That comes from within. Your happiness has to come from within, despite anything. You know, with anything and despite anything that might happen. I think if you make that choice, that decision, and it's your decision, because at the end, you know, there's only so much you can do for others in helping them. But if they don't want to help themselves, if they don't want to just make a change in their life, and it's basically just as simple as switching, you switch the control, you switch the channel, and you now make a decision that you're going to be happy. Things are going to flow, as we say, me resbala por aquí por allá. You know, you make things flow. Obviously, there are moments in life that things happen that you would rather not happen to you, but immediately, as soon as you can, you know, first use these mechanisms, focus your attention on the good things of life. Try to always be thankful of the great things, because when you count your blessings, more of those better things will come. And I think I'm a simple proof of that, because many of the things that the doctors were telling me with the chemotherapy and all the horrible, I remember I have, well, among the many surgeries I've had, but I've had lung surgery. And the doctor would tell me, you know, you're going to have this excruciating pain. I mean, you know, but don't worry, we're going to put, you know, the whatever morphine and this and that. And I remember, I said, well, I mean, every time they tell me all these horrible things that are going to happen, I say, I am hoping that in my case it won't happen. I'll make my best to, you know, mentalize that it's not going to happen. And I go through the surgery, and I wake up, and I recall this. I haven't said in any interview this anecdote that happened, but you know, I had this lung surgery, and the night that I had the surgery, at 2 in the morning, I woke up. And I immediately said, well, first they had told me I was going to have this pain, but I didn't feel too much of a pain, but I couldn't move the arm because this whole thing, you know, they put the drainage and everything. But I woke up and I said, I feel like I feel like I have to take a shower, you know, I have to take a shower. So I go like this to the thing, you know, to call my husband who was there. Asleep. No, asleep. My husband was there like, oh, blah. And so I said, well, I'm going to get up on my own. So I go with my whole thing, you know, and I go to the bathroom. This was in Connecticut, so imagine with the cold weather there and everything. And so I go to the bathroom, but like I couldn't actually get into a shower. And I said, well, I'm going to at least wash my hair.
Yes.
So I start putting the thing in the sink with the, you know, with the soap, because there wasn't shampoo. So with the soap, you know, going like this with one hand, you know, washing my hair, I had everything dripping, the water dripping all over. And at 2 in the morning, and in that moment, the nurse comes. Where's the patient? You know, she knocks the door, she opens the door, and she sees me like washing my hair, no, and with the water dripping, and she got so angry at me, and she told me, do you know the first cause of death after a lung surgery? Pneumonia. Pneumonia, how is it possible? Where's your husband? You know, so she, you know, wake him up and everything, and so I said, but do you have a dryer? And so, you know, and so she said, do you think this is a hotel? No, we don't have a dryer. Now we have to do it with the, you know, with the towel and everything. Well, imagine. And then the following day, the doctor comes like with his residents.
Yes.
We know what you did. We know what you did. Everybody here, you know. And so they were all impressed that, you know, how is it possible that, you know, I was just come out of surgery, a very serious surgery, and I, you know, was just thinking about washing my hair. I said, well, because I wanted to look nice, you know, I felt like, I don't know, sweaty, whatever. I wanted to. So I think that's, I don't know, that's the attitude. And because of that, I think maybe I didn't get that much pain, or
because you weren't thinking,
I wasn't thinking about the pain or anything else. So
and that leads me to 2 questions. One, do you think that, and this is, you don't have to answer, but and it's not to put anyone on the spot, but talking about hospitals and services, I mean, sometimes maybe patients need that type of care. They need to, you know, that personal, it's not only is about medicine and do this and don't do that and what are you feeling. Maybe it's just someone who's there to wash your hair and help you get in the shower and bring you that shampoo. I mean,
maybe not at 2 in the morning, but
maybe
you know.
in the morning. I mean, if you would have asked, they would have probably, you know, told you. But a lot of times I think that, and then again, I can't, you know, talk from personal experience, but, you know, do you think that's something that they could, you know, help a patient when they're going through something difficult, instead of always talking about what's happening to them and how do you feel? Maybe just to see, you know, what do you want to do? What are you thinking about? Can we do something else? Let me braid your hair. Let me, you know, get, I don't know, something.
No, I think, well, in a way, I think that they have to be the sane people, because of course, I mean, in that moment, I probably did something I shouldn't have done. I mean, it was totally maybe irresponsible that I went. How is it possible that 2 in the morning you wake up when you just had surgery? Maybe they would have helped me if I would have asked them, but maybe not that same night, maybe the following day or the next day, you know, whenever, according to the protocol or what the doctor says, it's appropriate to do it, you know. So probably I misbehaved in that sense. I do think that they try to do, but of course there are differences. There are hospitals, like in Latin America, I can compare, the doctors are a little bit more touchy-feely, kind of more personal here. They're more strict, but that's why also the diagnostics here are much better than in many other countries. I mean, we have the best medicine. I'm very glad that I'm able to at least have access to all of the protocols, the new things, the research that is going on. I think that is a blessing as well. But
and in many cases, when a patient is going through an illness, and it's, you know, they give them a time frame. A lot of the times they don't tell the patient, they tell, you know, their loved ones and someone else, because of the fear that, you know, if we tell them, they're gonna have that in their head, and they're gonna, you know, they're gonna make it worse for themselves, because all they can think of is, oh my God, I have 6 months. In your case, they did tell you, and you turned it around, but because you're strong and you have that within you. But do you think everyone has that within them, or do you think is it, I guess what I'm trying to say is it better to be straightforward like they were with you and say you have 6 months, or if they wouldn't have told you and you say, you know, not tell you and just go on with your life? What's the comparison between those?
I think the patient should always know the diagnosis. I do think, but of course, then again, what do you do with that information is what is the key to this. If the person generally falls into a depression, well then, hopefully the support system will help them lift and not let that information, you put yourself something, you have to know, because you have to know it's your life. You have to be, and you have to make choices. They tell you, do you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to have the surgery, these are the risks, pros and cons in everything. I mean, it's like an analysis here, pro, con, here, go there, do this. You have to know, the patient has to know. Now, whether it's the doctor telling you, or whether maybe it's a relative or your spouse telling you in the way, in a smoother way, or maybe, you can find ways. One thing is the what, the other thing is the how you tell them, right? So I think you can get creative in that aspect, so to make it as smooth as possible. But at the end, it's our responsibility as patients to know, and to know what to do with the information they give us.
And that's interesting. So you are a role model, and that's why it's very important for people to know and to listen to Danila and to take her advice, because you're strong and you know how to surpass this. And there are people that don't know. So if someone else gets the same diagnosis, but they're not as strong as you, and they don't have that within you, and they're almost about to fall, and get the, like you said, get the sickness take over them and think about it all the time and talk about it. What's the first step that you would tell them? If you were sitting with someone, what would you tell them to do? The first thing,
Listen to the music and rhythm. I think the first thing is to switch off, because many times, the chatterbox of our mind kind of nos traiciona, betrays us many times. We have that chatterbox telling us, and you start this spiral that goes downwards because you are thinking about it all the time. So the first thing that I would recommend is, once, you cried or whatever you have to go through, because that's important too. It has to, even if you think you're not strong, yes you are, the strength is within us. We just need to activate it in a way, and each person has to find what works for them. It's not that here yo como se inventé el agua tibia. This is what worked for me. But I do believe that if you focus the attention on something else, be it your kids, be the pets, a project, a trip that you want to do, even if it's just planning for it, you immediately think that you're traveling, because you are looking, in internet.
So you stop worrying and you focus on something else.
Yes, you reset the machine of your mind. Talking about this, you focus on something else. That's the first step I would do. And then the more you do that, if you do that a little bit every day, I would say, happiness is the sum of many little moments lived in happiness and doing the things you want to do. Have your hot chocolate, go shopping, do whatever makes you happy, be with the people you want to be with positive people around you. The sum of all of that at the end, hopefully, of this journey will be, we'll feel we had a worthy life.
Did you ever practice any meditation, yoga? Did you go to therapy? Talk to a therapist so you could let your feelings out, or did you only choose to write?
No, I never went to a therapist. I mean, I am my own therapist, and then obviously talking to my husband or my sister, because we're 4 sisters, so that also helps, It's like they're my best friends, and we talk a lot about these things. In regards to meditation, I had never done any of those techniques, but now I am. Okay. So that's one thing that, for example, I learned from because I also I started buying books and trying to get positive feedback as well, of other, not necessarily people who have been ill, but other stories of people who go bankrupt, or people, because it's like everybody goes through different things, It's like,
it's how do you get
just
up?
Part of life, so that helped me, and I try to meditate, because one of the things that I think is important is to have a vision of yourself happy, and healthy. So you don't imagine yourself like on a deathbed and things. No, you imagine yourself doing the things that you need to do, that you like to do. You make plans, because when you make plans, that kind of builds up an excitement, and And so in that visualization process, I learned some techniques, of meditation. I think that's very good.
You're also very mindful of what you do and how you do it. And do you have, I guess, control over your thoughts? Is that the final thing that do you think that's, because a lot of times people can't control what
but they
comes
can
into
control. Yes, you can. Yes,
can
you
they?
Control.
Okay.
It will continue coming. That doesn't mean
you have to block it.
You have to block it. You have to change the channel. For example, if maybe I'm talking in one example, I go to the infusion center, and I'm like with all these different, I remember in Venezuela, actually, one of the infusion centers, it was a small place, and you would have from the terminal patient to the one who was a bit better, to the you have the younger one. Well, I was one of the younger one, but there was somebody even younger than me, then older people, all sorts of it. Suddenly I could hear people like talking about this thing that, you know, only 6 months or 2 months, or you're, oh no, I feel sick, or they will be throwing up like right there, you know, while you're. So imagine, I mean, you feel it, you feel the suffering of other people, it makes you more sensitive, you know. But then, I don't know, I just try to say, okay, where's the magazine here? Yeah. Let me put my music, or let me try and cheer her up, because I think that when you focus on helping somebody else, you kind of forget of your own problems, and then you suddenly say, well, my problems are not that bad, I can handle it, let me try and help somebody else, and you distract yourself in that way, and you snap out of it. I don't know, it's just like I actually literally imagine myself with a control. I'm switching, you know, to try to block all the negativity or the pessimism, and it doesn't mean it's not going to continue, you know, the thoughts keep on coming. So all you can do is just, you know, do your effort. I mean, take some ownership, you know.
Interesting. Well, we've learned not only about her powerful story and how she got through it, but we got some information on how everyone can take that.
And I'm still going through it, by the way, you know. I mean, it's not that.
And you look like, you know.
I've never been in remission. I mean, I'm still in chemo. I mean, I still have to go through all these things. So I'm even learning myself. I continue to perfect my own whatever methodology or my own system to you know, to heal.
So, what's next? Is it another book? Is it more music? Is it a third type of way of, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's all of the above.
Okay.
I am working on more music. I do have some thoughts on a possible second book. And I also have a photographic project there in the plans. Yeah.
So just so people can know, they can purchase this CD and your book in Barnes & Nobles.
And in Amazon, iTunes, in my webpage.
Yes,
it's in
you
all
can
the
visit
digital platforms.
www.danilasigal.com. And you can read
in iTunes and, you know, whatever, Spotify, Google. I mean, all of the digital platforms for music, you can find the album.
You can find her in Twitter, very important.
Oh yeah, in Twitter
and she's
as well.
very active. She'll reply to your tweets.
Yeah.
If you need any, you know, inspiration, empowerment, help, if you're going through something.
Yeah, definitely. And in Facebook as well. I have the public page on Facebook. So whenever I can, I always try to interact with the patients. Whatever is in my power to, you know, help other people, I will.
Good. Well, thank you for granting us this interview. And before we cut out, we'll show you a little piece of her video.
Oh,
Let's see if we can get it playing. And this was shot how many years ago?
This was in, no, this was last year.
Oh, this was last year,
and, it was in Miami, you know, location in Miami. I actually had to, the interesting or funny thing of this video is that part of the video I had to get on top in a balcony and get on top some boxes. And the wind was coming. I thought I was going to fly like Mary Poppins, you know, because I was like in a, I don't know what.
Stand up and face your fears with strength.
Danila's video and song, and if it doesn't make you stand up, then I don't know what to tell you. Thank you, Danila, for this interview. It was a pleasure.
Likewise.
And
thanks for the invitation.
Yes, we hope to have you again soon.
Certainly. Thanks a lot.